Rodri, from Real Madrid dream to Barcelona hijack. There was a time when the destination seemed obvious. Rodri, one of the best midfielders in world football, was being heavily linked with Real Madrid. Then Barcelona entered the race. And suddenly, one of the biggest transfer battles of the summer changed completely. This is the full story of how Rodri went from being strongly associated with Real Madrid to becoming Barcelona's biggest midfield target. And as of August 15, 2026, the most important detail is this: Rodri has not officially joined either club yet. But Barcelona currently appears to be leading the race. Why Real Madrid wanted Rodri? The story initially made perfect sense for Real Madrid. Madrid were looking for an elite Spanish midfielder who could become a long-term leader in the center of the pitch. Rodri was almost the perfect profile. He understands Spanish football, has enormous experience at the highest level, and has already won the Premier League and Champions League with Manchester City. Even more importantly, his contract situation made the summer of 2026 particularly interesting. Rodri's Manchester City contract was approaching its final year, giving potential buyers leverage in negotiations. Reports in late July suggested that Real Madrid had identified Rodri as a major target. But there was a problem. Manchester City wanted a much bigger fee than Madrid initially wanted to pay. One report claimed City wanted around €80 million, while Real Madrid's reported ceiling was closer to €60 million. Madrid had to decide whether Rodri was worth breaking their transfer structure for. And while Madrid were negotiating, another giant was watching: Barcelona. Barcelona enters the race. On August 6, the situation changed dramatically. Barcelona stepped up their interest in Rodri. The Catalan club reportedly saw him as a potential solution to one of the most important questions in their squad: who can control midfield at the highest level for the next several years. Rodri's profile was extremely attractive. He could provide defensive security, control possession, and dictate the rhythm of matches. And there was another factor: Rodri is Spanish. Barcelona already have a number of important Spanish players, meaning the idea of bringing Rodri into that midfield was particularly attractive. Suddenly, this wasn't simply a Real Madrid transfer story. It had become a battle between Spain's two biggest clubs. And then came the first serious move. Barcelona submitted an opening offer to Manchester City. According to reports, the first proposal was around £38.5 million, or approximately €45 million. Manchester City rejected it. The message from England was clear: if Barcelona wanted Rodri, they would have to pay considerably more. Real Madrid starts to lose ground. This is where the transfer saga became really interesting. While Barcelona were increasing their efforts, Real Madrid appeared to be moving away from the deal. Reports suggested Madrid were no longer prepared to meet Manchester City's valuation. And by August 8, reports from the Madrid side indicated that Rodri was effectively no longer expected to join Real Madrid. That was a huge development. Only days earlier, Madrid had been one of the strongest candidates. Now Barcelona were suddenly in pole position. The reason wasn't simply money. Rodri's preference reportedly became an important part of the story. Several reports claimed that the midfielder was interested in returning to Spain and that Barcelona had become his preferred destination. But there was still one enormous obstacle: Manchester City. City weren't prepared to simply let their midfielder leave for a discounted price. Barcelona returns with a bigger offer. Barcelona didn't stop after the first rejection. They came back with an improved proposal. Reports on August 12 and 13 put the second offer at approximately €60 million, with some reports describing the package as potentially rising further through bonuses. Manchester City rejected that offer too, but this time, the situation was different. Barcelona had shown that they were serious, and City had apparently established the price they wanted. Reports suggested Manchester City were looking for somewhere around £60 to £65 million. Other reports had previously placed City's demands even higher. So now the negotiation was no longer about whether Barcelona wanted Rodri. They clearly did. The real question was, how much will Barcelona actually pay? And could they structure the deal in a way that works financially? The €60-65 million battle. This is where the numbers become crucial. Barcelona's second proposal was reportedly around €60 million, plus possible bonuses. City rejected it. The English club's position has reportedly been that a fee closer to £60 to £65 million would be required. That means Barcelona may need to improve the guaranteed amount, the bonuses, or potentially find another structure to convince City. There was even speculation that Barcelona could use players as part of a deal. One name mentioned in reports was Frenkie de Jong. A player exchange structure was discussed in the media, but it has not become an official agreement. So at this stage, the clearest picture is, Barcelona want Rodri. Rodri reportedly prefers Barcelona. Manchester City want more money, and Real Madrid appear to have moved on. Why Manchester City are not panicking? There is another fascinating part of this story. Manchester City have no reason to rush. Yes, Rodri's contract situation gives Barcelona and other clubs some leverage. They can reject offers, they can negotiate, and they can keep Rodri if they don't receive an acceptable proposal. On August 14th, Manchester City's new manager Enzo Maresca was asked about Rodri's future. His answer was deliberately cautious. He did not confirm that Rodri was leaving. He essentially left the door open, saying that anything could happen before the transfer window closes. That tells us something important. The transfer is not done. Despite all the reports, despite Barcelona's offers and despite Rodri's reported preference, Manchester City have not yet agreed to sell him. The Real Madrid twist. And now we come to the biggest twist of the entire story. At the beginning, many people expected Rodri to end up at Real Madrid. It made footballing sense, it made commercial sense, and it would have created a spectacular Spanish midfield. But Barcelona changed the equation. They entered the race late. They reportedly convinced Rodri that Camp Nou could be his preferred destination. And while Barcelona pushed forward, Real Madrid shifted their attention elsewhere. Reports now indicate that Madrid are focusing on other midfield options, including Martin. No official transfer has been completed. Part 1 so, Barcelona or Real Madrid? And now we can finally answer the question everyone is asking. Real Madrid, at the moment, it looks unlikely. Barcelona, much more likely. Not yet. The situation can therefore be summarized in one sentence. Rodri's transfer story has gone from Real Madrid being one of the favorites to Barcelona becoming the frontrunner, but Manchester City's price is still blocking the final agreement. The next offer could be decisive. If Barcelona move closer to City's valuation, the deal could accelerate very quickly. If Barca refused to pay the required fee, City could simply keep Rodri, and that's what makes this story so fascinating. Because the battle between Real Madrid and Barcelona may already be over, but the battle between Barcelona and Manchester City, that one is still alive. And potentially, it is entering its most important stage. Final verdict, if I had to rank the situation today, Barcelona, favorites. Real Madrid, currently behind and reportedly focused elsewhere. Manchester City, still holding the negotiating power. Rodri, reportedly leaning toward Barcelona. But there is one final warning for anyone following this story. Don't call Rodri a Barcelona player yet. Until Manchester City accept the proposal, the contract is signed and the transfer is officially announced. This remains a transfer saga, not a completed transfer. And after everything that has happened over the last few weeks, one thing is certain. The Rodri transfer story is far from boring. It started with Real Madrid. Barcelona hijacked the race. Rodri's preference reportedly shifted toward Camp Nou. And now everything could come down to one number, the final fee Manchester City are willing to accept.